When Hayley Williams quietly released 17 new songs on her website, unlocked only with a special code, it wasn't just a gift to her fans, it was a reminder. A reminder that beneath the fame, the colored hair, the high notes, and the public battles, there still burns a restless fire inside one of modern music's most resilient, daring, and uncompromising voices. Born on December 27, 1988, in Meridian, Mississippi, Hayley Nicole Williams grew up far from the glitter of the music industry. Her childhood, like many artists, was tinged with both hope and hardship. Her parents divorced when she was young, and soon after, she moved with her mother to Franklin, Tennessee. It was there that she began to find her voice, not just musically, but personally. Franklin wasn't just a new home. It was a battleground of self-discovery. As a teenager, she stood out in a small town full of conformity. But while others tried to fit in, Hayley leaned into her individuality. She began vocal lessons and even briefly joined a funk cover band called The Factory, where her vocal power quickly turned heads. But it wasn't just about how loud or high she could sing. It was about the emotion in her voice. There was something electric, something urgent, that made people stop and listen. At age 14, Hayley was discovered by music managers Dave Stonebrink and Richard Williams, who quickly signed her to a production deal. By 2003, she had landed a major record deal with Atlantic Records. But there was a catch. The label originally saw her as a solo pop act. Hayley refused. She wanted to be in a band, not just be the face of a project. That insistence would become a defining theme in her life, fighting for autonomy in a world determined to mold her. So she formed Paramore. Together with Josh Farro, Zach Farro, Jeremy Davis, and later Taylor York, Paramore began to take shape. Their debut album, All We Know Is Falling, was released in 2005. It was raw, full of energy, and touched on themes of abandonment and loss, emotions that mirrored Hayley's own experiences. But it wasn't until their second album, Riot, released in 2007, that the world really stood up and took notice. With singles like Misery Business, Crush, 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 and That's What You Get, Paramore exploded into the mainstream. Hayley, with her flame-colored hair, fierce stage presence, and unstoppable voice, became a symbol of female empowerment in a male-dominated genre. And yet, even as the spotlight grew brighter, the shadows behind the scenes deepened. Paramore was never just a band. It was a storm of personalities, clashing visions, and unspoken resentments. The band faced multiple lineup changes, public disputes, and accusations of control and favoritism. Through it all, Hayley was often painted as both the anchor and the villain, depending on who you asked. But what few saw was the emotional toll it took on her. Behind the fiery performances and iconic videos, Hayley was struggling with anxiety, depression, and the weight of expectation. She had become the face of a movement, but she was still trying to figure out who she was. In 2010, the Farro brothers left Paramore in a very public breakup, accusing Hayley of monopolizing creative control. The media had a field day, but instead of firing back, Hayley and the remaining members chose to move forward. And move forward they did, with the release of Paramore in 2013, an album that redefined their sound and featured hits like Still Into You and Ain't It Fun. The record won a Grammy. And yet, even in this triumphant chapter, Hayley's inner world was unraveling. In 2017, Paramore released After Laughter, a brilliant but brutally honest album that masked sadness in upbeat melodies. Songs like Fake Happy and Hard Times spoke of smiling through pain, of the cost of performance, of trying to keep it together when everything feels like it's falling apart. The album resonated deeply with fans and marked a new era of vulnerability for Hayley. But as the band took a break, Hayley finally did something she had resisted for years. She stepped out on her own. In 2020, she released Petals for Armor, her debut solo album. The title was inspired by the idea that vulnerability is a form of strength, that being open is its own kind of protection. The album was raw, experimental, and deeply personal. It touched on grief, trauma, and healing. And for the first time, Hayley wasn't playing a role in a band. She was just her. In interviews, she revealed that she had been going through a dark period, a divorce, a reckoning with her mental health. a process of unlearning years of internalized pressure. Petals for Armor was more than an album. It was therapy in sonic form. In 2021, she followed it up with Flowers for Vases/Descansos, an even more stripped-down acoustic album recorded in her Nashville home. It was haunting, beautiful, devastating. She had laid her soul bare. Then in 2023, Paramore returned again with This Is Why, a defiant, edgy record full of political commentary, emotional exhaustion, and existential dread. It proved that Paramore wasn't just back, they had evolved. And so had Hayley. She was no longer the pop-punk teen prodigy or the fiery frontwoman trying to hold it all together. She was a woman who had faced her demons and lived to sing about it. Now in 2025, with her surprise release of 17 new songs, accessible only through a special code on her website, Hayley has once again proven that she answers to no one's rules but her own. In an industry obsessed with algorithms and virality, she opted for mystery, intimacy, a direct connection with her fans. The message was clear. She's still creating, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Hayley Williams' journey has never followed a straight line. She's been underestimated, misrepresented, idolized, and criticized. But through it all, she stayed true to the one thing that matters most, her voice. Not just the one that belts into microphones, but the one that dares to speak truth, even when it shakes. She may not always be in the spotlight. She may disappear, retreat, or reinvent. But Hayley Williams has never stopped growing. And for those who've followed her path, from warped tour stages to Grammy wins, from misery business to poetic ballads about pain and recovery, one thing is certain. Hayley Williams isn't just the voice of a generation. She's the echo of every soul learning to love itself through the noise. And she's still not done singing.